I never thought a single person could turn my life upside down so quickly. But then came the day I met my fiance's sister, Alexis. My husband, Ryan, and I have been together for almost 7 years. We're happy, grounded, and relatively drama free, or so I thought. I always knew Ryan's family had a reputation for being a little controlling, but Alexis took it to a whole new level. It all started during the weekend Ryan and I went to his cousin's wedding in Charleston. I'd met Alexis a few times before, and each encounter left me uneasy. She had this sharp way of smiling while saying the most cutting things, always in front of other people, so that it felt like a performance. That weekend, however, the lines were crossed. As soon as we arrived, Alexis cornered me in the hotel lobby. "You know," she said, twirling her champagne glass, "Ryan really deserves someone who fits into our family. I just hope you're not planning to make it all about yourself." I froze. I wasn't sure if she meant my clothes, my career, or the fact that I wasn't from the same affluent bubble she had grown up in. I tried to laugh it off, but Ryan noticed the tension immediately. "What did she say?" he asked, frowning. I shook my head, trying to avoid making a scene. Ryan always hated when family drama interfered with our time together. The next night, during the rehearsal dinner, Alexis decided to escalate. While everyone was mingling, she leaned close to me and whispered, loud enough for several guests to hear, "I hope you're ready to make sacrifices for Ryan. Some of us know what it means to truly keep a family together." I wanted to disappear. My face flushed, and I could feel everyone's eyes flicking toward us. Ryan put a hand on my shoulder, giving me a small, reassuring squeeze. By dessert, it became clear she had made it her mission to humiliate me. She loudly critiqued the way I had complimented Ryan's parents on the decorations, insinuating I was trying to show off or play the perfect girlfriend. It was relentless, and the worst part, she didn't stop. At one point, she even suggested, completely seriously, that I should consider quitting my job because it made Ryan look less capable, even though he had always supported my career and was proud of it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moments in my head, wondering if I was imagining things. But Ryan had seen it too, and the next morning, he apologized for how his family treated me. "I can't believe she would do that," he said, running his hand through his hair. "I should have said something last night." I wanted to tell him that it wasn't just a one-time thing, that Alexis had been like this since I met her. But it was worse now because she was escalating, and in public. I felt trapped. This wasn't just tension at a family dinner. It was a calculated pattern of humiliation, and it was happening right in front of people who were supposed to be celebrating love. The next morning, I tried to avoid Alexis, but she cornered me again in the hotel lobby. "I just don't know if you're ready for what family life is really like," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Ryan deserves someone who knows her place." Something inside me snapped. I wanted to scream, to tell her that I was done tolerating her manipulations, but I swallowed it down. I didn't want to ruin the wedding, or give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. I would learn over the next few weeks that this was only the beginning. The following weeks felt like walking through a minefield. Every time Ryan and I visited his family, Alexis was there, waiting to pounce. I started noticing a pattern. She would compliment me, but only to follow it with a backhanded remark. One evening, during a casual family barbecue at Ryan's parents' house in Raleigh, she came up behind me as I was helping set the table. "You really do try so hard," she said sweetly, almost singing. My heart sank. It's cute, but Ryan, well, he deserves someone a little more refined. She smiled as if she had just handed me a gold star for effort. I froze, the plastic utensils in my hands suddenly feeling heavier than life. I tried to brush it off, but Ryan noticed my stiff posture. "Alexis, come on," he muttered under his breath. She ignored him entirely. Then, in front of everyone, she added, "I just want what's best for my brother. You know, some of us actually think about the long term." A few of his cousins exchanged awkward glances. I could feel my cheeks burning. I had always prided myself on staying composed, but that night, my frustration bubbled over. I excused myself and went to the kitchen, trying to calm down. Ryan followed me, gently putting his hands on my shoulders. "Don't let her get to you. She's complicated," he said. I nodded, grateful, but inwardly furious. Why did she feel the need to treat me like an intruder in my own fiance's family? Things escalated at Ryan's younger brother's engagement party. Alexis had somehow convinced herself I was intentionally upstaging everyone. When I complimented the bride-to-be on her dress, Alexis leaned over and said, loud enough for half the room to hear, "Oh, I wouldn't expect you to understand what elegance really looks like." I froze. My hands curled into fists at my sides, and I felt every eye on me. Ryan, sensing the tension, stepped in immediately, offering a kind word to smooth things over, but I could see the strain in his face. After the party, the emotional toll hit me like a wave. I felt exhausted, humiliated, and unsure of what to do. I called my sister back home in Atlanta, crying into the phone. "She's relentless," I whispered. "It's like I can't do anything right." My sister reminded me that I wasn't alone, that Ryan had my back, and that this wasn't a reflection of me, but of Alexis's toxic behavior. But every time I tried to take a step back, Alexis escalated. At Ryan's mother's birthday dinner, she openly criticized the way I had helped organize the event, suggesting that I was trying to take over the family. The look in Ryan's mother's eyes was sympathetic, but she didn't intervene. She had learned years ago that Alexis's comments were not to be challenged directly. That night, I cried in the guest room while Ryan stayed with me, whispering that we would figure this out together. I started noticing the psychological manipulation. Alexis would send Ryan texts complaining about me, painting me as selfish or controlling, even when she was the one instigating conflict. She would exaggerate minor incidents, twisting them into supposed evidence that I didn't belong in the family. And she wasn't subtle. She did it so publicly that it became almost theatrical, leaving me feeling small and exposed. The breaking point came during a small family gathering for Ryan's parents' anniversary. Alexis cornered me in front of everyone, loudly declaring that I had ruined the party by being too loud and inappropriate, all while holding a wine glass and smirking. The room went silent, and I felt my chest tighten, my stomach sinking. I wanted to vanish, but Ryan stepped between us, glaring at his sister. "That's enough, Alexis," he said firmly, voice shaking with anger. "Stop embarrassing her. She's not the problem here, you are." Her face twisted in disbelief. "Ryan, I'm just looking out for the family," she shouted. "And this is not how you treat people you supposedly care about," Ryan snapped back. "You need to leave before you make this worse." She scoffed but left, muttering under her breath. I sank into the couch, shaking, grateful for Ryan's intervention, but devastated at how much I had endured. That night, Ryan and I sat together in silence, holding hands. I realized that this was no longer just minor tension. It was emotional abuse, and we needed a plan. It was time to figure out how to protect ourselves and our relationship before Alexis's toxic influence tore us apart. The following month felt like living under a cloud I couldn't escape. Every family gathering became a minefield, and I realized I couldn't continue pretending Alexis's behavior was normal. Ryan and I decided to attend a family brunch for his aunt's birthday, hoping it would be more low-key. Of course, Alexis had other plans. From the moment we arrived, she was lurking, making tiny jabs that slowly eroded my patience. At first, it was subtle. She commented on my haircut, my outfit, even the way I laughed at a joke. But then she started targeting Ryan, saying things like, "I can't believe he's letting you plan everything this weekend. Are you sure he knows what he's doing?" I felt my stomach twist. That's when my ally stepped in, Ryan's older cousin, Jamie. She'd noticed the tension immediately. "Alexis," Jamie said firmly, putting her hand on her hip, "you're being unnecessarily mean. Why don't you let everyone enjoy the party?" Alexis flinched, but only momentarily. She turned her attention back to me, whispering under her breath, loud enough for me to hear, "You think you're clever, don't you? But no one will ever really accept you here." I felt tears prick my eyes, but I held them back. Ryan squeezed my hand, whispering, "Don't let her get under your skin. She's trying to control everything." By the time cake arrived, Alexis had escalated again. She loudly criticized my cooking, a dessert I had made myself and brought to the brunch, saying, "Well, at least someone tried, even if it's not up to anyone's standards." The entire table went quiet, unsure how to react. I could feel my face burning, but Ryan's mother, who had stayed mostly quiet in the past, finally spoke up. "Enough, Alexis," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "You're embarrassing yourself. Stop it." Alexis blinked in disbelief, then stormed out, muttering complaints about how ungrateful everyone was. I exhaled shakily, leaning against Ryan. "I can't believe she does this," I whispered. "It's not about you," Ryan said, wrapping his arms around me. "She's always been like this. You just see it clearly now because it's aimed at you, but she's been toxic for years." That night, we sat at home, talking about what had happened. I felt a mix of anger, shame, and relief. I had allies, Ryan, his mother, and Jamie, but I realized something crucial. I had been letting Alexis define my self-worth for far too long. It was exhausting, and it was unfair. The turning point came 2 weeks later during Ryan's cousin's engagement party in Charlotte. Alexis was invited, of course, and I knew this could be the moment everything escalated. Sure enough, halfway through the party, she made her move. Standing near the hors d'oeuvres table, she loudly criticized how I was holding myself, how I laughed too much, and even insinuated I was trying to take Ryan from the family. The room fell silent, guests staring at us in awkward confusion. But this time, I didn't flinch. I had Ryan's hand in mine, and I knew we weren't alone. His mother stood beside us, as did Jamie and even a few other cousins. Ryan spoke up first. "That's enough, Alexis. You're making a scene, and it stops now." Alexis's face twisted in shock, but she continued, "I'm just trying to protect the family. You're making everyone uncomfortable." "That's not protection. That's control," Ryan's mother said firmly, "and we won't tolerate it anymore." I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time, it wasn't just Ryan defending me. The family was finally seeing her for what she truly was: manipulative, cruel, and toxic. Alexis's eyes narrowed, but she had no audience to intimidate anymore. She stormed out, muttering under her breath, but the room stayed calm. That night, Ryan and I sat together, exhausted but victorious. I realized that confronting the toxicity head-on, with allies standing beside me, had shifted the dynamic. I didn't feel powerless anymore. Alexis could no longer manipulate the narrative without consequences. The stage was now set for the ultimate confrontation, and for the emotional resolution that would finally allow me to reclaim my peace. The day of Ryan's parents' 30th wedding anniversary arrived, and I knew it would be the ultimate test. Alexis had been relatively quiet over the past few weeks, but I had learned not to trust her calm. Ryan and I agreed. We would attend, but we wouldn't let her ruin the evening. We weren't entirely prepared for what she had in store. The ceremony started beautifully, with soft music and heartfelt speeches from close friends and family. I tried to focus on the joy of the occasion, but I could feel Alexis's eyes on me, icy and calculating from across the room. Halfway through dinner, she struck. She stood up suddenly, glass in hand, and cleared her throat. All conversation died down. "I just want to say something," she began, her voice dripping with faux sweetness. "It's wonderful to celebrate my parents, but I can't help noticing how different things have become since my name joined the family. I mean, Ryan, are you really happy with someone like her?" The room went silent. I felt every eye on me. My chest tightened, a mix of fear, anger, and shame washing over me. But this time, I didn't shrink. I looked Alexis straight in the eyes. "Alexis," I said calmly, my voice shaking only slightly, "I am happy. Ryan and I are happy. Your opinion does not define me, and your attempts to manipulate or humiliate me will no longer succeed." She laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Manipulate? You think you're the victim here? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Ryan's mother, who had remained surprisingly calm for most of the evening, finally stood. "Alexis, that's enough. You have embarrassed yourself and hurt others far too many times. This behavior ends tonight." Alexis's face twisted in outrage. "I can't believe this. You're all against me now? I'm only trying to protect my family." Ryan, now standing beside me with an unwavering expression, spoke firmly. "No, you've spent years trying to control and belittle me, my siblings, and now me and my wife. This stops tonight. You are no longer welcome to speak to me or my wife in this manner. If you continue, you will be asked to leave, and we won't hesitate to involve authorities if necessary." Her jaw dropped. For the first time, Alexis had no audience to terrify. The room was calm, supportive, and united behind Ryan and me. I felt a surge of relief and empowerment. Alexis sputtered, trying to regain control, but the moment had passed. She eventually stormed out, muttering threats under her breath, but the room stayed calm. Afterwards, Ryan pulled me close. "I've never been prouder of you," he said softly. "You handled that with more strength than I could have imagined." I exhaled, the tension in my shoulders finally releasing. For the first time, I felt truly safe within Ryan's family. Not because Alexis had left, but because we had finally stood together and set boundaries. His mother later approached me, placing a gentle hand on my arm. "I'm sorry it took this long for you to feel welcomed," she said quietly. "You've been brave through all of this, and I want you to know you're part of this family, fully." That night, Ryan and I went home, exhausted but lighter than I had felt in years. I realized that the fear and shame Alexis had tried to instill in me were not mine to carry. For the first time, I could breathe without anticipating her next job. The emotional turning point was clear. Boundaries, support, and confrontation had shifted the power dynamic. Alexis could no longer dictate the atmosphere of our lives, and I finally felt the weight of her toxicity lift. The days following the anniversary were surprisingly calm. Alexis had not contacted us, and even though we expected her to retaliate somehow, she seemed to have realized that her usual tactics no longer worked. The family rallied around us quietly, Ryan's mother, his siblings, and cousins, making it clear that support was unconditional. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of belonging with Ryan's family. I could attend gatherings without fear of ridicule or manipulation. I even began helping organize small events without anxiety, knowing that the allies I had gained would intervene if necessary. It was liberating. Alexis, meanwhile, began to face consequences outside our household. Word spread within the extended family about her behavior, and she found herself isolated. Invitations to events she had once dominated were now being redirected to Ryan's siblings and me. Ryan's father, who had always been a calming presence, finally had enough. He set clear boundaries. Alexis would no longer be allowed to disrespect anyone or intrude uninvited. If she refused, he made it clear there would be legal action to protect the family's peace. Seeing her lose influence over the family was oddly satisfying, not in a cruel way, but because justice, however slow, had finally caught up with her. I realized that her power had always relied on fear and manipulation, and now those tools no longer worked. Emotionally, I felt a profound shift. I no longer questioned my worth or role in Ryan's life. The fear and shame that had been my constant companions whenever Alexis was around had evaporated. Ryan and I grew closer, strengthened by the battles we had faced together. We laughed more freely, planned small trips, and even began talking seriously about the future without the shadow of toxicity hanging over us. One quiet Sunday morning, as we were having coffee in our kitchen, Ryan reached across the table and took my hands. "You know," he said softly, "I've never been more certain about anything in my life. We can handle anything as long as we're together." I smiled, feeling warmth spread through me. "I know," I said, "and I finally feel like we can breathe." The resolution was not just about Alexis being forced to face her behavior. It was about reclaiming control over our own lives. Ryan and I had set boundaries, confronted toxicity, and leaned on our supportive allies. We emerged stronger, closer, and more confident in our choices. Reflecting on everything, I realized the most important lesson. No one has the right to dictate your self-worth or happiness. Boundaries, courage, and allies make all the difference. Toxic people will always test limits, but the power to protect yourself and your loved ones lies within your hands. As for Alexis, she remains on the outskirts, unable to exert control over anyone in the family again. And I finally understand that I don't have to fight alone, and that some battles, no matter how painful, are worth fighting for the peace and dignity that follow. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe, laugh, and truly enjoy my life with Ryan, surrounded by a family that supported us, not undermined us. It was a relief I had almost forgotten existed. And it felt, finally, like home. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.